just talking about tomatoes, my goodness, I made a pot of sauce, probably my 5th pot that's this big. My freezer can't take anymore. But anyway, we have a few tomatoes here. If you're in the studio audience, help yourself. Lisa Riley, she comes on every year. She's with Out of Darkness, and it has to do with suicide prevention. And we're talking about the Walk for RITA. And we both know RITA, an incredible woman, vibrant, intellectual, smart, funny, you name it. And her life was taken by herself. How do these things happen?
Oh, Ann, I wish I could tell you. Our organization, which is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, is essentially a research-based organization. It's a national nonprofit. There are over 55 chapters across the country. The Capital Region chapter spans from Hudson up to the St. Lawrence County area. What we do is fund research and fund programming, prevention and education programming. And I think we're still trying to figure that answer out. I would tell you that what we do know from research is that 90% of those that die by suicide have a mental illness, whether it be depression or bipolar, at the time of their death. So it's an evolution of learning more about it.
I was surprised at some of the figures that you have on your site. 36,000 people take their lives each year.
You bet.
36,000.
It's the 10th leading cause of death in this country.
And the other thing is that we're talking about the ages were from 18 to 65 was the predominant
That's
ages.
right. That's right. It's the 2nd leading cause of death in our college students. So that, and it's really, there's so much stigma associated with suicide, with mental illness, that not a lot of people are talking about it. So my job, our job as a chapter, all volunteer driven, is to spread the word and to educate.
Are there signs that people, I mean, you know, you're sitting there in the audience, you know, watching this, and you're probably saying, I just wonder, you know, I have a son or a daughter or a cousin or a niece, and I'm worried about them. Are there signs that, or are there no signs? They say if they talk about it, I don't know.
I think that there absolutely are signs. We often educate people to be aware of behavior, any change in behavior. So someone who's typically very outgoing, who is the star of, you know, the basketball team or the softball team, and all of a sudden their behavior changes. They become isolated, they start skipping school, they start drinking, using drugs, they pull away from normal activities. Those things can indicate a problem. I think the most important thing for parents is to not be afraid to ask. It is absolutely okay to say, I'm worried about you.
You're not going to give them the idea.
No, I think that's probably one of the biggest myths.
Say, yeah.
Biggest myths out there is that if you say the word suicide to somebody, that you would plant the seed or the idea. And the reality of that, again, all based in research and what we find through studies, is that asking somebody, just point blank, I'm worried about you, are you thinking of suicide, that it starts a conversation. And I think that's probably the best take home there. Sure, there are signs, you know, that, like I said, the isolation.
And giving things away.
Giving things away, those things absolutely. Even if somebody says, I just want to kill myself, you take it seriously.
And what can you do?
Well, you know, there's a lot you can do. What our organization tries to do at a school level, at an evening forum level, is to educate the community about what they can do on the ground. And basically, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is a volunteer grassroots effort to educate one person at a time. So we often will say, take a class, learn a CPR-like training program called Safe Talk. That is approved and best practice through the Suicide Prevention Resource Center that allows you to be able to ask somebody, are you thinking about suicide? And if somebody says, well, yes, I am, what's the next step? There are also trainings where that's more of a emergency training called ASSIST, which is Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training, where you become almost that EMS or paramedic in terms of getting someone to help. So taking a training, educating yourself about the real facts, the myths. I mean, most times people hear the word suicide, they run the other way. The stigma is just tremendous.
We don't know how to deal with it. I mean, now I think it's important that you read in the paper that someone did take their life. I mean, it's important. I mean, and when you see somebody, 18-year-old died suddenly, you're thinking
Sure.
auto accident or what?
Right.
And, is it really, I guess it's not important for me to know, but the idea is that it raises the awareness that this is a serious problem.
Absolutely, and especially since, the statistics that you were mentioning, it's the second leading cause of death in our college kids.
Well, and then the other thing is I noticed about seniors, 16%
Yeah.
of deaths of people over 65
Sure.
are suicide.
Sure.
Was that because of illness, do you think?
I think, loss of autonomy, illness, you're alive and everybody else that you loved is gone. A lot of times what we do now is talk about protective factors. So in our seniors, we really talk about staying connected, staying active, and I think that's a real important part. And also untreated mental illness in our elderly. It's not normal to get depressed when you get older.
Well,
and I think our primary care providers are now aware of the fact that we need to treat mental illness just like any other illness.
The other thing is, as a pharmacist, I know a lot of the drugs that people take for high blood pressure or
Sure.
different conditions that they have,
Yeah.
not specifically high blood pressure, but cause some depression.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, so that there has to be an awareness of the side effects,
You got it.
and that this is not clinical depression. It's
Sure.
induced because of the drug. And
Sure.
if they're aware of that,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just starting the conversation with a primary care provider
so important
at a training level is just to say, consider depression in your elderly patients.
Exactly. And I know that when I go to the hospital, they'll say, do you feel sad? Do you feel, and I'm going, no, I just want to get out of here. It's like, nothing to do with that. Anyway.
Right.
What about schools? Are you doing anything with that?
Absolutely. I am proud to tell you that the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention has wonderful tools for schools. The More Than Sad Teen Depression film is a 30-minute film shown in schools. Basically, the point of the film is to show kids what depression can look like in a friend or in themselves. It's a great way to demonstrate good help-seeking behavior. So the idea is not to keep a secret that my friend is going to take his life and I'm a good friend because I'm not going to tell anybody. Or, Jim is drinking a lot and using drugs because he just doesn't feel right. It's really demonstrating good behavior, help-seeking behavior. What does depression look like? I mean, we talk about it, but what does that really look like in a kid? And so the film also has an educator, partner film that we show administrators, school personnel, teachers, social workers. That is a great collaborative effort in getting into schools. So we're real proud of that project.
And awareness is very important. Okay, when is the Walk for RITA?
The Walk for RITA, this is going to be the 8th annual Walk for RITA. It's September 16th. We start and end at the entrance to the Flat Track in Saratoga. And we walk downtown. We walk right down Broadway. Last year we had over 1,000 walkers, and we anticipate probably close to 1,200 this year.
They go to your website?
You bet.
Out of the Darkness?
Outofthedarkness.org.
Okay.
You can register to walk there. You can make a donation. And we use the money, like I said, to support national research and to support local programming.
Okay, Lisa Riley from the American, I want to get that right, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Walk for RITA. Take some time to make yourself more aware of the signs, if there are any, what you can do, and I'm sure if you go to their website, there'll be a lot of information there. And we'll look for Lisa next year too.
Thank you.
I wish you would never have to do any of this, but you do. So
I appreciate it.
take care, and thanks for doing such a good job for all of us.
Thank you.